The Connection Show. Inspiring hope, health, healing, connecting the dots of your story and transforming your life. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds.
The Connection Show, inspiring hope, health, and healing. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me from the Lone Star State of Texas is Misty Phillips. Welcome to the show, Misty.
Hey, Jill. It's so good to be here. And just to clarify, it is Misty Phillip. You know, there are a lot of Misty Phillips out there. So if anybody wants to connect with me afterwards, make sure it's a singular Phillip.
Thank you for doing that correction. I really appreciate that. So,
absolutely.
Yes, indeed. I usually ask the guests before I go live how to say their last name, and I thought it was an easy one. Anyway, well, before we begin, I'd love the audience to know about an amazing event that is coming to the beautiful city of Branson, Missouri. If you've never been to Branson, we get 8 million visitors per summer throughout the year because we're like the Bible Belt mini Las Vegas, which shows galore, restaurants, theater, everything. And so the wonderful Yakov, who's the comedian, Yakov Smirnoff, he has given us permission to utilize his theater for this amazing event that he just feels is so important. So he's helping us out with a fabulous deal at the Yakov Theater, August 19th and 20th in Branson, Missouri. And it's called Resilient Bravehearts for Such a Time as This, inspiring hope, health, and healing. Well, the Sight and Sound Theater in Branson does biblical shows each year. And this year's production is the story of Esther and how she was a fearless and courageous queen who saved the Jews from being killed. And so we are taking off on the story of Esther here in Branson. I will show you the flyer. And you can register now by going to braveheartworkshops.com. Make sure you get your tickets immediately because Esther's tickets are selling out about 2 months in advance. So come in 1 to 2 days early, go see Esther, and then be filled up at this event and learn how to be more fearless and courageous women. So with that, we have a fearless and courageous woman who I just adore, Misty Phillip, who's going to share with you her story as a little girl growing up and how that story evolved into the amazing woman of God she is today.
Well, Jill, I'm so excited about your event for women in Branson. We need to gather. In Hebrews, it says, all the more as we see the days drawing near. And I've just seen an incredible move of God as we gather together in person. And so I know that event is going to really, really encourage people. So I'm excited for you and for all that the Lord is going to do there. Well, my story, begins. I had a fairly normal childhood starting out until my brother passed away. And my brother died very suddenly in an accident where he fell off the roof of his house. And he was 21 and I was 12. So we had a 9-year difference in between us. And when he passed away, it just devastated our family. My mom, who probably struggled with depression and anxiety, she just had a lot of issues that she had to work through. Happened when I was going into junior high school, and it was just a really rough time for our family. And I began looking for external validation and things to cover the pain that was so deep in my heart. I started drinking, and that led to me being raped. I was date raped, and after that happened, I kind of just gave up. I started doing drugs, all kinds of things to fill that hole from the pain that I was experiencing. And you know, throughout my high school years, I was kind of a mess. And then I went to college and I met Jesus. And that's where the good part of my story comes in. Well, it doesn't mean that everything got easy. It just means that that's where my life was radically changed. And I realized my great need for Jesus and that he loved me and that he died for me and that he saved me. And that just radically altered the course of my life.
And how
However, it did
and
not.
how did that occur? Like what? Where were you? How did finding Jesus happen in college?
Yeah, so it was really a series of things that happened. I was dating a young man who I thought I was going to marry, and we broke up, and I was devastated. And I really, the enemy at that point was really, really wreaking havoc with me. And I wanted to kill myself. And was walking down the road, and I was like, nobody would care if I even jumped in front of a car. And I cried out to God and I said, God, if you are really real, then I need you to intervene in my life. And all of a sudden, this guy pulls over. He offers me a ride. He ended up becoming a friend who discipled me, gave me a Bible. I had another incident with a friend of mine who introduced me to someone who prayed for me to have the Holy Spirit, and it was just like a series of things. Like the enemy was really trying to wreak havoc in my life at the same time that God was doing a work in my life. So there were several things that happened during that time, and I started attending church. I started reading my Bible. I still wasn't fully living for the Lord because that sin nature is hard and it holds on. But then fast forward to met my husband, and life didn't just get easy for us because we were believers. We ended up having several miscarriages and a special needs child, and a baby with trisomy 18 who was stillborn, and just several really big challenges with raising our family and taking care of parents. Both of his parents were diagnosed with brain tumors at the same time, and so we were going through all of that at the same time as we were homeschooling our kids. And so I feel like there's always in my life, there's sort of been this tug of war. Is the enemy could maybe see the potential or what I would do for God in the future. And so I believe he began to attack me very early in my life and kind of throughout my life. But as an adult, I just pressed into Jesus, into the Word of God. And that's the thing that radically changed my life. And so even in the course of going through all of these really painful situations, I knew that anything that happened was that God allowed it by his sovereign hand. And so that I could trust. And instead of being a victim of my circumstance, I ended up becoming a victor. And the theme that has run through my life is about overcoming. We all are going to struggle. We all are going to go through difficult things. It's how we respond to those that makes the difference. So when bad things happen, because they do, a lot of times people are like, why would a loving God allow bad things to happen? And the fact is we live in a fallen world. And because of that, some of the sin that we deal with is sin that we have caused in our own life. And other times it's a product of someone else's sin that affects us, or just, living in a sinful world. And so that is just what we have to deal with. But how we can affect it.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, as you spoke, what came to mind is the Bible verse in Second Corinthians 12:9 that says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me." And as you were sharing the pain that you've gone through, and you said how God still showed you his grace was sufficient in the midst of it, the dots that keep connecting to me as you were sharing this story, beginning with the painful loss of your beloved brother, is the burden that comes in of extreme grief and loss that permeated throughout your life. First your brother, then the loss of your virginity through a rape, the loss of your mother during this time of anxiety, depression, when young girls especially need their moms to embrace them and walk them through the troubles of being a junior high kid, the loss of your fiance, boyfriend in college, and then the loss and grief of your miscarriages, your stillborn. And then even though your special needs child is so beloved, because we have a special needs child, it's still the loss of that healthy baby and the pains and struggles that we go through throughout the rest of our life. Even though we love and are so grateful for that special needs, there's still loss and grief that goes into that. So I see a lot of that pattern that took place throughout your life.
Absolutely. And my point was, it's okay to question God. We can ask God why. We just can't get stuck in the why. The only thing that we can control is our response. And so we can be a victim and feel like the whole world is against us, or we can be a victor and we can say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So when we get knocked down, when we become defeated by all of these difficulties, the pain, the grief, the sorrow, the struggles, whatever you want to call it, when bad things happen to us, we have a choice in how we will respond. We can trust God and trust that he is sovereign and that he has allowed it to happen and that it is conforming us to his image, or we can get angry with God and we can become a victim. And, the Bible says that through Christ that we are more than conquerors. And so if we just take that pain and the shame, the difficulty, the grief, whatever it is that is the causing us pain, in our lives, if we take that and lay it at the feet of Jesus, then we can cast our cares on him and we can exchange the fruit of the Spirit, which is love, joy, peace, patience, long suffering. So I love that beautiful exchange that we get to do with Jesus when we take those pressures and difficulties and we just give them to him and we lay them at his feet, and then we can pick up his joy. And as we share our testimony in the book of Revelation, it says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So it's easy to share the amazing things that God has done with our lives. And as we do that, the more that we do that, the more we are overcoming. So it's this really beautiful thing that the more we share our story and the more we tell what Jesus has done for us, the more we become overcomers.
Amen to that. And I want to say, for those of you listening who have gone through some extraordinarily painful things like Misty has just shared with us, it's a journey. It's a journey through this. And in the Bible, Jesus talks about that he catches every teardrop. And so when you're walking through those difficult times, give yourself permission to pause whatever you're doing. If you need to take a sabbatical, and in the background of my virtual background here is this beautiful purple couch, and so I envision just Misty and the pain you went through, just laying on that couch and spending as many days as needed to just cry out to God, I'm in pain. I need you. I calling out to him, and he catches those teardrops, because it's not like you wake up one day and you go through all that and go, oh, I'm an overcomer. No, 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 no. We walk through that grief, the burdens that come into our lives just don't miraculously go away in 2 seconds. Sometimes they do. But for me, I lost my sister and my father 2 days apart in 2020. And then I got COVID that same day my dad died. And I had to go in the hospital for 5 days. Well, I looked at it later as a blessing, because after I got out of the hospital, I had to quarantine for 2 weeks in a hotel in Chicago. And I remember laying on that bed and calling out to my husband, because we had 2 rooms, because I had to stay away from him, and asking him to sit at the foot of the bed, not hold me, just sit at the foot of the bed, because I didn't want to jump out of the 3rd-story window of the hotel. I was filled with so much grief. And I remember just curling up on that bed for 2 hours in a fetal position, and just crying and crying and crying and crying and crying. And it was so healing for me to know that Larry stepped in, almost like Jesus at the foot of the cross, and sat there with me as a placemat to just be with me in the room as I grieved.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, first of all, for the loss. It's hard when it's compounded, and I know COVID was just a difficult time also, to lose family members just because of the circumstances, and then for you to get COVID on top of that. And Jill, that's sometimes how life goes, where we have these really bad things happen, and they stack up on each other, and it can feel like it's almost too much. But you're right. I've got a friend right now who's going through a divorce, and it's not something that she wanted at all. And I'm like, it's okay for you to grieve and to feel all of the feelings, because that's how we do find healing, is by grieving, and then we have people that step in alongside us, and we can do that for others as well. Your husband was there for you. I'm there for my friend, because of the pain and the suffering that I've been through in my life. I may not have been through a divorce. Your husband may not have been through those losses, but we can step in that place and provide that comfort and that healing, just knowing that someone is there, and that you're loved and cared for.
Thank you. And it just gives me that vision, when Jesus walked on the face of the earth for 33 years, he went through a lot of long suffering. Satan tempted him on a daily basis. And yet I find it so fascinating in scripture that along Jesus's journey, he had 12 disciples with him throughout that journey. And there were times he went off to the mountainside alone to pray and meditate and be with God the Father. But then there were times he came alongside his 12 disciples, and they counseled him too, and they loved on him. And so it's just a beautiful illustration to me of community, and how Jesus represented the importance of community in the midst of goodness and pain.
Absolutely. It's such a beautiful, I love that point though that you made. First of all, Jesus spent a lot of time off in a wilderness place because he had to be alone with our Father. And that we need that same thing today too, in the busyness of this world. There are so many things that are clamoring for our attention, from social media, what's happening on the news, so many different, and then the struggles that we have, and all of that's compounded. So we must make time to surrender to the Father, and to pour our hearts out. And then we also need to be in community. And in Hebrews, it says, all the more as we see the day of Christ's return drawing near. And we can look at the signs and the seasons. We may not know exactly when God is going to return, but we can tell by the seasons. And so we need to be anxiously awaiting his return. But until then, we need to be busy about our Father's business, loving and serving and supporting one another and praying for one another and bringing people to Christ.
Well, I'm grateful that you just said that, because the vision that God's given me, and then I want to transition into your vision that God's given you. The vision God's given me really strongly in the last 2 weeks, he keeps speaking to me really loudly, is in Titus. It talks about in Titus that older women are to come alongside of younger women to mentor them for the purpose of teaching them wisdom, so they will live life wisely, purity, and I love the ending of it, and to do good in the world, to serve others. And so we are called as women of God to be mentoring the young tweens and teens and college students and young adults, to teach them wisdom, purity, and to do good, and to give back into the community. And so the vision God has given me for this specific event in Branson is for us women to come alongside of those tweens, teens, and have topics, and I want to transition to this, on topics of purity, femininity, leadership skills, career development, body image, bullying, social media, and what it does to our brains, and addictions, eating disorders, topics like this. But the vision I have so strongly from God, Misty, is many times we go to a conference and you hear people speak on all these topics, and the audience takes in all this information, and it's difficult sometimes to process it all. So God's showing me that after about every 3 speakers, we'll do breakout sessions where these young girls that are in the audience will have us mentors in circles with them, where they can open up and share how these topics affect their lives, so there could be some healing. So I really believe it's important that when we share these heavy topics, there's space for them to be able to talk. And so that's the vision I have. So 2 things I wanted to go back to. One that came up, and then I want to transition to what you've got going on in Texas, because it's amazing, is as you spoke, what came up to me is the word body image. And that's a really big topic today, not only for young girls, but for men as well. And men deal with it as well. My father dealt with it, and I didn't even know about it till he had a staph infection, and he lost body mass, and he wouldn't go to the gym until his body mass came back. So body image with your date rape, and then the addictions that took place. Could you kind of just talk about body image issues as a young junior high school girl after your rape, and what took place for you?
You know, Jill, for me, when that happened to me, it really kind of shut me down. And so I didn't really have a lot of body image issues. I just internalized a lot of the pain. And so that's what happened to me. I think every junior high girl has some body image issues. I can look at my young nieces when they come over, to go, and they're fit and in really great shape, but still when they want to get in the pool, like you're self-conscious. And I think that's probably the main thing, is that it takes time for us to become comfortable within our bodies. And I know that a lot of people struggle with body image. And I think that for young girls today, that's exacerbated by social media and the perfect image that you can take a picture and completely edit it to look flawless. And that highlight reel is what other people see. So they don't see the pimple on the face and the ugly parts of, the ugly parts of us, right? Because they only see that. And I think it's that comparison of other people in their perfect highlight reel lives is what's really causing a lot of issues, and particularly with body image issues, because girls are made to feel like they have to be this very small, perfect, perfection, which is not attainable, first of all. And so, so for me, that wasn't really an issue. I think I just shut down and was other issues that I had. but I can see a lot of young girls struggling with that. And so I'm so glad that you're doing that for your event, because you're right. It is a lot to take in. It's a lot to process, and to have that mentorship relationship. I've been studying the book of Titus with a small group for the last couple of months, and we dove deep into the book of Titus. And it's not just about young, older women teaching younger women. It's really about the qualifications of leadership in the church and what that looks like. And so it's for men, it's for women, it's for church leaders, it's for all of us. And so I love that you're doing that and coming alongside. In the Bible study that I was in, it was taught by an older lady and a younger lady who just graduated from seminary. And it was beautiful. We had ladies, in their 80s all the way down to in their, just graduating from high school and early college and everything in between. And that is just a beautiful, and the way that we're meant to do life. We're not meant to do life in these silos, just being online and not in real life. We're meant to be together. And so that's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Well, before we go into the next part, I want to show your bio real quick. So this is Misty Phillip and her bio, and she's got her website listed here, 2 websites, and her Facebook community as well, and how you can connect with her personally. So before you connect with her, I want her to transition now into how God led her, and now her husband is part of it in a silent more way, into this new ministry she's got in her business. And then she's got a cool event coming up in Texas in the fall. So transition to your business world, if you wouldn't mind, Misty.
Yeah. So I worked for a company called Enron back in the day, and God called me out of Enron to come home and lay my life down for my family. So I spent the next 15 years homeschooling my kids. And then as they started to grow, I realized I was going to be in trouble unless I found something else to do. And I prayed and I asked God, and he gave me a Bible study. The struggle is real, but so is God. I started the By His Grace podcast in conjunction with that Bible study. And then as I was going through, I prayed a prayer. I asked God, where does my gifting and my calling line up in this next season? And the answer was really surprising to me, but it was a podcast conference. And I was like, God, I can barely podcast. I've never been to a podcast conference, let alone host an event. But I said yes. I stepped out in obedience, and I did the thing that God asked me to do. And over the past 3 years, it has been an incredible whirlwind, because we hosted the first event in February 21st and 22nd of 2020, about 3 weeks before the world completely shut down to COVID. And so I had equipped all of these people that came together. We were standing room only, and we had this incredible event where people left encouraged to start a podcast, and people that already had a podcast to continue on. So they started the pandemic with this memory of being all together, and it was just really phenomenal the way the Lord orchestrated all of that. From there, we started the Spark Collective membership training community, which is a monthly paid membership with a library of videos to help people to podcast. But it's also that community aspect where creators can come together to encourage one another. And then from there, I just kept praying and asking God, what is next? How do I solve? Like, I would see a problem and I would go to him in prayer and say, how do we solve this? So one of the things for podcasters is, once you start a podcast, it's how do I grow, or how do I monetize my show? So we launched the Spark Media Network to feature shows to help them to grow and to monetize. And we also started the Spark Media Magazine to feature the podcasters in our community, and authors and speakers that are also podcasters could have a publication to write for as they're going forward with their book proposals. And those those kinds of things. And so everything I've done with Spark has this, taking it to the Lord in prayer, waiting on him when, it's, if I wasn't ready to do the next thing, I would just really take it to the Lord in prayer and not move forward until he gave me the go ahead. And so we partnered with the NRB for 2 years and hosted the Spark Media Conference at the National Religious Broadcasting. It was fantastic. I knew I wasn't supposed to do it there again this year, but I wasn't quite sure what I was supposed to do. And so we hosted our last event in the spring of last year. And so it has been a long time. I've been praying and waiting on the Lord. And finally, he gave me the go ahead. And we're going to host the next Spark conference in Houston. And it will be a combination of podcasting, media, writing, speaking. It's going to be our biggest event yet. And so that is in September 28th to the 30th. And it's just outside of Houston near the Woodlands. And we've got an incredible facility. We've got amazing sponsors who are already coming alongside of us. People are getting really excited. One of the things that we do is we honor the work of Christian podcasters and at our award ceremony. And that is taking place on September 30th this year, which happens to be International Podcast Day. Wow. So I didn't even know that when I planned it. And so I was like, God, how cool are you that this is the dates that you gave me and that it was International Podcast Day. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, and I know you have an early bird special right now. What's the price on that early bird? So people, and again, you can go directly to the website that I'm going to post on this video so you can get that. It's a super early bird price and you get in on that now to save money. So how long does that go for?
Yeah, so the super early bird is available until 4:15. Until 4:15.
April
so we
15th.
got April 15th. And so that's $379. And you can go to sparkmedia.ventures. There you'll find the Ignite conference and you can get all of the information there. We decided to do that super, super early bird just to give people that may have a financial hardship to let them get in on it early. And the regular price tickets are $4.99. Then we also have a VIP option that includes a whole extra day of training and VIP activities.
Awesome. So get in on that really super early bird. And especially what I know from being an event planner, register now and get your hotels now, because if you wait on your hotels when they know there's conferences, prices go up. So book your hotels early before they know the conference is coming to town, because then you'll get special deals on your hotels as well. So
we locked in an amazing rate with our hotel. It's the conference is going to be at the Marriott City Place, Springwoods, and we locked in a rate of $189, and we'll have the code I don't know when this is going to go live, but we'll have the code available for that next week. So I would encourage you to book it with our room block, because that's going to be the absolute cheapest price that you're going to get. And it's limited. So you're going to want to take advantage of that as well.
Yeah. So definitely look for that booking code the minute it comes out, because I used to be a director of sales, Misty, at hotels. And so usually they'll do room blocks of about 20 rooms. And then after those, like 18 are booked, if they have more, they may open it up. So the quicker you get in, the quicker you'll get that $189. Because I can tell you that $189 will probably go to $259, like the minute they sell out the $189. So definitely get in as quickly as you can, from my experience. So in closing, Misty, do you have any closing words of encouragement or anything else you'd like to share about your event with the audience today?
Yeah, Jill, I am just so honored to be able to bring Christian communicators together for such a time as this. I really believe as we see evil rising in the world, I also see the Holy Spirit doing incredible things. And I see the power when we come together in person. It's great that we can do things like this online, but there is nothing like being in the room with other people and just the conversations that happen and the things that the Lord can do. So that's what I'm really most excited about. You don't even have to be a podcaster to come. You can just be a podcast fan, because we're going to have a little something for everybody at this year's event. So if you are an author or a speaker or a podcast host, or you're in media, or as a Christian entrepreneur, this is going to be a gathering for all of those things. And so let's come together and do what only we can do together through the Lord.
Well, and I want to just ditto that, because Misty and I found each other on Facebook about 3 years ago and connected, and said a few chats here and there. And then there was a big podcast movement, had a big event in Dallas this last year, and Misty was one of the speakers, and I went mainly, Misty, if you don't know this, I went to that event mainly to meet you. You were the draw.
Oh, that's amazing.
You were the draw. I was like, if Misty's going to be there, I am going, because I want him. And I could not wait to go to your speaking engagement, just to give you a hug in person. And then, of course, got to meet the amazing Jody. And you guys were my highlight. And so, you guys out there, when you're listening to podcast shows like this, coming in person and finally getting to meet those amazing people who are spending their days and hours in their lives to give back to you through podcasting, we really appreciate it when you come and meet us in person. Don't we, Misty, when we get to meet our guests in person?
Absolutely. I love getting to meet people that it's always kind of a little funny to me. People are like, I listen to your podcast. And I'm like, you do? I mean, I know people listen, but you don't always know as a podcast host who's listening. And so when you find people that are fans of the show, it's always fun to meet them. And yeah, we enjoyed meeting you for sure.
Well, thank you so much. In closing, I got to share a secret. And I know it's funny that I'm saying this, because maybe they all hear it, maybe they don't, but the Lord is leading me on this event in Branson for Sunday to be a special VIP day to what I call the forgotten population: homeless women, domestic violence women, and recovered addicts. And so God is showing me that we as women need to embrace that forgotten community and be their eunuchs at the event on Sunday, and do makeovers like pedicures, manicures, and have a VIP. And then, just like Esther being brought before the king after her eunuchs beautified her for a year, throw a banquet for them and just love on them and show them that they are beautiful in the eyes of God. So that's just like a vision I have, is to give them that essence of how they are beautiful. And all of us are Esthers, all of us. God has called us all to him, and to show you all that he is the King of Kings and that you are his children.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, Jill. I love that.
Well, I love you, Misty. So everyone, go to Misty's site today and get that early bird registration, and we will see you in Houston, Texas. But before Houston, come to Branson, August 19th and 20th. Misty, stay on for a moment when we end. But everybody, God bless you. Have a wonderful day. And thank you for joining the Connection Show, where we inspire hope, health, and healing in the world. Thanks, Misty.
Thank you.
From the beginning of time, God has commissioned women from around the world to mentor, encourage, teach, and train tweens, teens, college students, and young women to be courageous and fearless women of God. In 2023, Queen Esthers need to rise up to save our nation and the generations to come. Receiving a crown of beauty for ashes, healing from uncertainty, being overwhelmed, the effect of social media, addictions, eating disorders, body image, busyness, isolation, loneliness, fear, anxiety, depression, bullying, hopelessness, and abuse. The time is now to become resilient, brave hearts for such a time as this. No longer be broken and become the best you can be. Learn from extraordinary women in breakout sessions. Hear speakers share on topics such as hope, health, healing, faith, love, joy, peace, purity, femininity, self-esteem, nutrition, healthy boundaries, leadership skills, career development. God has called older women to teach younger women that they are good enough and are wanted by a king who wants them to arise as resilient Queen Esthers and to live wisely, purely, and be good. Join us for 2 days at Yakov Theater in Branson, Missouri on Saturday, August 19th, 2023 and Sunday, August 20th, 2023 for Resilient Brave Hearts Women Conference for such a time as this. Come in a day early to see Esther at Sight and Sound Theater.
Hi, I'm Jill Reynolds with Resilient Brave Heart for such a time as this, coming to Branson, Missouri, August 19th to 20th, 2023. We will be meeting at Yakov's Theater, and I'm so excited for the event. No Longer Broken and Becoming the Best You will be joining us at this event. It's for all women of all ages, from 12 years old to 100. You don't want to miss this event. Come to Branson and be with us for this amazing weekend of hope, health, and healing.
Hello, my name is Brenda Ringwood, and I'm the founder of the Becoming the Best You movement, #BTBY, and I'm going to be in Branson, Missouri, speaking and working with Jill Reynolds at Brave Heart Workshops in August 19th and 20th in Branson, beautiful part of the country. But more importantly, this is a women's event. We women need to stick together. We need to encourage each other. We need to build each other up. We need to love on each other. We need to fellowship together. That's what we're going to do at this conference. We're going to love on you. So check us out. August 19th and 20th, Branson, Missouri at the Yakov Theater. Oh, what an amazing time this is going to be.
Hello, ladies. Hi, my name is Overseer D. Forbes. I want to talk to you all about being no longer broken. Listen, meet me there. It's August the 19th and the 20th. Ladies, you don't want to miss this. It's a place where you'll be safe, healed, and made whole. I will see you there.
Register now by going to braveheartworkshops.com.
Thank you for joining us on The Connection Show. Our show is made possible by your support. Please go to our website and click on the Affiliate Partners page now. You can support us either on Venmo or our Cash App today. We love our podcast guests and our social media subscribers. Our channels are made possible by you, our listeners. Please go to our website and go to our Contact Us page and click on all our social media pages. Make sure you click the bell on YouTube and subscribe, and the follow us button on Rumble. Our affiliate partners are featured on our show, and we thank you for supporting them and their products. Each of them have fabulous offerings with discounts when you mention Braveheart when you order. Please order today by going to braveheartworkshops.com and clicking on Affiliate Partners.